Alright, welcome to episode 1 of the JRH show, JRH podcast. Don't have a name yet, but here we are with my good friends Dan Parsons and Tracy McNeil. Welcome you guys.
Thanks Josh.
Thanks.
Thanks for coming on the first one ever. This is cool. Here we are in my bedroom. We were going to do it in my kitchen, but my landlord is outside working and banging, so here we are in my bedroom making it work. So
What a bedroom it is.
No better place. It's really nice.
yeah, cool to have you guys in town.
It's great to be here.
Yeah, Dan's been really nice to hang and jam the last few days. Talking back to the Melbourne days where I would stay with you in Pascoe Vale and wake up at all hours and
I know, it's
jam
like
on songs.
just like having idle time to play and
Yeah.
just like get lost in music has been kind of, it's ironic because we play music every day of our lives, but it's rare that we actually get to
Yeah.
find time to just settle into something kind of hypnotic like we've been doing.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah, it's like you really got to be intentional to carve out that space, eh?
Yeah.
Even though some days I'm like, I wish I just had a regular job. But
Yeah.
then some days you don't even want to write a song, and then a song comes, and next thing you know, you just work on a musical day. It's like, oh, I wouldn't have done that if I had other things.
Exactly. Yeah, it's therapeutic.
Yeah,
It
definitely.
just need to have the time to daydream.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really important as a creative, and it's like something you have to protect, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise it can go, and then you're like, oh, trying to find it all the time.
It's true, eh?
It is true. Yeah. We just feel like we're like a cannonball, just like beaming through space, you know? And
Yeah.
you have to kind of put the brakes on to carve that time out, or it just doesn't happen.
So tell me a bit about, I'd love to hear a bit about you guys, a bit of your backstory. How did you first come into music, and how did you first get into it?
Well, I kind of like was like a dance kid that came to music really late in life. So like always kind of was a closet player, closet writer, but was out there, you know, with the tap shoes on, kind of doing the dance thing.
Oh.
And then, I don't know, I got sick of doing like crunches and sit-ups and being healthy.
Yeah.
I started going to bluegrass nights in Montreal in Canada when I'm from Ontario, but yeah.
In Montreal?
I was living in Montreal for 4
Were you?
years, yeah.
I lived there for just a little bit.
It's amazing,
It's
right?
a beautiful city.
Yeah, it's a city that doesn't sleep. There's so much like rich, awesome culture and
Yeah.
stuff to really kind of bite into and rub up against, and like it's really cool. It's inspiring. So I started writing country songs and thought maybe I could switch gears, and a lot of music in my family. So I just kind of slowly kind of wrote a record and then launched that back in Toronto, and then went off to Australia 3 days later with my first record in my pocket.
Well, how did you end up in Australia? Like,
I went there to do like teachers college. I was like looking at my coffee table going, I can't live anymore. I've got like a milk crate coffee table, and enough of this like starving artist thing. So
Yeah.
I thought, okay, I'll go teach dance and drama and like arts and stuff, and have a real job. And then, but I'd fallen in love with music simultaneously. So
Yeah, right.
I went to Australia for 10 months to do a teacher's course, but then put a band together during that time. Didn't really care about the teaching, got my certificate. And by the end of the 10 months, I had an awesome community and just was like, I can't leave.
In Melbourne?
This is freaking awesome. Yeah, in Melbourne.
Yeah, right, wow.
So that was kind of it. And then I got a job that allowed me to stay. And 10 months turned into 10 years, turned into almost 20 years.
Wow.
And a music career. So.
Yeah,
And teaching. Did a bit of teaching as well.
that's cool.
But yeah,
Was that high school, primary school, or what?
high school.
High school.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
very cool. What about you, Dan?
Well, I've been playing music pretty much since the start, since I was just a little kid.
Yeah.
Drums, which I think you're kind of similar in that way, right? Drums
Yeah.
was the first instrument.
Drums was second for me.
Second, really?
Started on guitar in like teenage years. I got into drums more.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of like from like 7 till 11 was like just totally drum focused, and that's what I did for a lot of my childhood, was just like tapping on things, and you know, then my parents bought me a drum kit, which was really cool. Around 15, 16, got into like playing guitar and like the idea of writing songs, and yeah, then I think as soon as I could, I was trying to play in venues and
Well,
you
yeah.
know, just
In
like,
Brisbane?
Yeah, there's a great place called the Alley Bar. Do you remember that?
But yes, I did.
In Milton. It's gone.
Yeah.
It's gone now, but they would kind of let you play underage.
Yeah.
So I would go there whenever I could get in there and play, and had a little band with some friends, which was cool. And I moved to Melbourne in 2010 in October with my girlfriend at the time, and it wasn't my plan to move there. I just kind of like followed my life kind of down there. You know? But it was the best thing I ever did. It was an amazing place to kind of to expand your horizons. And
Yeah.
I mean, so different to Queensland.
Yeah, for sure.
Being down there in Victoria, but I was down there for a good 4 or 5 years before I even heard of Tracy.
Really?
So we were operating in totally different worlds, kind of the same scene but different worlds.
What was your world more back then?
I don't really know. It was like I wasn't really in one world. I was
Okay.
kind of like probably bordering a couple of different little scenes.
Right.
Just like making my way out, playing a couple of shows, and mostly I was recording an album at the time. This is around 2011, 12, and I was touring a bit too.
Yep.
But yeah, it wasn't until 2013 or 14 when I really started to discover that there was like a pretty active, vibrant, kind of that old country Americana scene down there, and that fit like a glove for me.
Yeah.
And it really influenced my songwriting and everything, just like finding those people in that scene, which Tracy was a part of. And but yeah, it was a wonderful experience to sort of meet all those people, particularly Bree Hartley, the incredible drummer. She was the one I met first.
Really?
Out of that whole world. We did a job for Sue Ray.
Okay.
And I was playing guitar and steel for Sue, and Bree was the drummer, and we just clicked immediately.
Yeah.
And kind of made a vow to, like, if we ever had a chance to play again, we'd take it. And I think it was a year later, in 2014, Tracy messaged me saying, Bree tells me that you play guitar, and my regular guitarist can't make this show. Would you want to play? And it wasn't just a show; it was like your album launch for
It's a whole tour.
Nobody Ever Leaves.
Yeah.
And so
Whole tour?
yeah,
Really?
yeah,
All right.
and it was great. Like, it was great music. I was sent the album and connected with it instantly, and we had a rehearsal, and that was great. And particularly a nice surprise was the vocal blend that we, had together.
Yeah.
And and from then on, it was Tracy McNeil and The Good Life was like a big focus for me, and obviously for you, being your thing. But yeah, it really was born out. My Minor Gold was born out of that whole kind of sort of world.
A natural evolution into it.
Yeah.
I did my own thing alongside of it for sure, but I never really considered myself someone who would be joining other people. I'm an only child, so it's kind of inherent to my personality that I'm like pretty self-contained. And not to make too big of a point of it, but like it says a lot about the music that Tracy was making, that I really it felt so right for me to be involved with it in some like lead guitarist kind of co-producer sort of way. Like it felt like my music in a way.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool that I just keep thinking all the gigs we kind of mentioned, they were like, oh yeah, I was at that. Oh yeah, I was at that, but we never met.
For a long time?
For the longest time,
Really?
Bree was one of the first people I met. We met her on a sidewalk, and somebody said, her partner at the time said, we need a drummer. And I'm like, I need a drummer. She's like, here's a drummer, Bree Hartley. And like, that was it. And then we had one jam, and she's slowly cobbling together this band. And then fast forward all these years later, and her and Dan meet, and it's just, it's
Well, there was
really cool.
There was a decent chunk of time there before I even joined the band where you had like there was a decent chunk of time with a certain band for a while. Hey.
Yeah, for sure. And to lose, like, I had a great guitarist, Matty Green, and he put, it's kind of like a family, It wasn't like a pickup band where I could just get people willy-nilly. It was a real commitment, and I think, that speaks to the dedication of everybody, but also speaks to the financial model of the band. Like, everybody's kind of, I was fortunate that everybody was like, no, we just want to make this work. So I'd say, can we play the show? It's because I didn't have enough.
Which is
I'm flying
bloody hard to do. So
flying
kudos
5
to you.
people around, and
Yeah.
it's crazy. So without that, like, that's one model. You don't always have to do it that way.
Right.
I was fortunate that they believed in the music enough and took a chance with me, and so that's how that works. So when I was losing Matt, because he was getting picked up by Missy Higgins to go play, like, bigger shows, better shows, more people. And I'm like, yeah, shit, okay, he's going. I gotta get someone. And Bree was like, you gotta check out this Dan Parsons guy.
Yeah,
And she'd been saying that. Not a bad replacement. It kind of changed everything in a different way. Like, there's such different players, and Dan brought so much energy creatively to the band, and kind of like musical director, and really, really like helped.
It was so much fun.
Yeah. It was kind of the
probably nice
halcyon
to
days.
get
of
out of
the
your
band.
solo thing too, and
Exactly.
Give your energy to something else.
Well, that was like a big turning point to realize that. Like, you know, sometimes I thought to myself, maybe I'm better utilized as someone who is not like at the front of the band, you know.
Yeah.
Which was kind of like a cool thing to have that experience, to like see that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Because you can get kind of put your blinders on. You don't think that I'm a songwriter, I'm a singer, I'm a front person, and that's what I do. And it's like, well, no, it's not all I do.
Yeah,
so
right.
that was kind of a cool thing.
Yeah.
I reaped the benefits of that because it was just such a great thing. Like everything you brought to the table with that band, and there was a spark there, like from day one. So like, you know, we played music together for like 5 or 6 years and had whole separate lives, and you know,
Right.
and then it got a bit Fleetwood Mac, but like, you know, fast forward to years down the track, like we've been really good friends playing in a band together for like 5 or 6 years before we ever had a chance to think about even writing together. It was
Right.
never an option.
Okay.
It was
Yeah.
never an option. It was never on the table based on the kind of relationships we had, and so that was refreshing when
Yeah.
we finally kind of broke ties and had the space. Then again, carving out that space to be creative together.
Now was that COVID
Not just
times, or
production.
That's when you left Melbourne around COVID, right?
We went on tour. We quit our jobs in 2019 to go on like an Australian tour together. Not as Minor Gold yet. It was our respective names, but and so we were on tour, and then COVID happened. So we were down in Victoria, and I'm pretty sure winter was coming. So it was like
Winter's coming.
We were living in a
It's sunny
van.
Queensland.
Yeah.
We were living in a van down by the river, kind of thing.
Were you really?
Yeah.
yeah.
Or the Yarra? Or
Not really by the river, but
yeah, okay.
we were kind
Which
of.
river?
We sold all our stuff. We
Did ya?
got rid of all our furniture, everything, and we just
Uh.
cobbled together whatever money we could. We had a van, and we were just living in that van and meeting up with my band and doing my shows, and then Dan and I were playing solo on stage together, each other's songs,
Yeah. Okay.
and we toured Canada.
That was kind of what sharpened the whole decision to kind of be like, you know what, let's just like go all in, because we went to Canada and did a small tour, and it was just like an amazing feeling to be out there doing it. And I think we kind of got ourselves all really, you know, kind of geared up to return and just kind of go all in and
then COVID.
yeah, which I mean for me personally wasn't a bad thing, honestly.
Yeah.
COVID was a time to kind of really reflect and
Which is when you moved back to Queensland.
yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of weird because like I've been pushing for 10 years or whatever with this band, that classic 10-year stint.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like, oh, the dreams are starting to come true, the dreams you thought you had, you know, and I just signed to a label. I fully quit my job, now with long service leave, like no more teaching, throw it all in. We sold all our stuff, and I'd signed to a label, and my record was going to come out that Dan produced, and it was all going well. We got an RE nomination, it was all good.
We produced that,
Yeah, well,
make that clear.
anyway, but
Yeah, take the
it
mic.
was it was all looking like it was happening, you know, and then we went on we got like 4 shows of the album tour, and then that's when it really hit, and it was like, no, we gotta pack it in. And Dan's mom said, you better get up to Queensland, they're probably gonna lock the border and you won't be able to get up here, you'll be in a van in cold Melbourne.
Which they did
We
lock
were
the
in
border,
like a-
right?
Oh yeah.
They
For
did.
a while.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems like my memory is going to say 7 months, 7 months.
Yeah, it was a long time. We hightailed it up there and
Yeah.
just drove straight,
Did ya?
and no aircon. Remember that? It was so hot, and we got up there and the border closed 3 days later. So
Wow.
she was right as usual,
Yeah.
and that turned into like 9 months living with his folks out on the property,
Wow.
and then that's when we were like, okay, well, we can't do our solo stuff anymore. We're sitting here looking at each other. We got all this time. Let's write together, and
Wow.
that's when we kind of started writing from on our goal.
Yeah, it was certainly strange to kind of be like, we live in Queensland now.
Yeah. To
Like,
go
Yeah.
back.
In one
Yeah.
day, it was like one day we were in Victoria thinking we live here, and then the next day we were in Queensland and we're like, we live here now.
Right.
Because everything we own is in that van, so just really strange.
I guess too, like, we were talking the other day about the Australian kind of convict mentality of thinking that everything's better elsewhere. Growing up in Brisbane was a bit like that too. Queensland is always kind of like, oh, I'm going to go elsewhere to
Yes.
make music happen, or
Yes.
Melbourne or Sydney or something.
Yeah.
but Queensland's pretty awesome in some ways.
Oh, it's awesome. And to your point there, I remember I saw a play a few years ago. I forget what it was called, but it was Brisbane centric. It was set in Brisbane, and before the play started, there was a quote that I think maybe the playwright had made up. It was saying that Australia is the Brisbane of the world.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow,
I
it's
can
really,
see that.
Yeah.
it's accurate in some ways, you know?
Yeah, it is.
Um,
Brisbane's always been labelled as like a big country town,
Mm-hmm.
which
Yeah.
I think it's finally coming out of now, and I'm sure the Olympics will help with that.
Totally.
And that's coming, so.
I love that about it though. Wide streets, rolling hills.
Yeah.
Like as a bad driver, I love like
Plenty
being
of
able to
room.
just cruise down the road. There's like hardly any traffic. I mean, it is getting worse, but the beaches are some of the most beautiful beaches. Within an hour, you're on like a stunning beach, which we love. We're like beach bums for
Yeah.
real. And it's, I don't know if you want that slow pace. You don't really care about a thriving Americana music scene. Yeah. Then you're like, you're sweet. It's like a really good place.
Yeah,
I love it.
It is. It's a good place to create. I found that too. In between
Yeah.
tours, going back to Queensland, and just kind of hanging on the fun and riding.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And you grew up just over the hill from me, right?
That's right, just
Cedar
over the
Creek.
hill.
Yeah. So that was cool. And then a few years ago, because COVID hit here, and it was the same for me. I had to kind of decide, am I staying here? Am I going back? And all my family was like, get back now. I'm like,
Yeah, that would have been scary.
It was a bit scary. Everything was kind of unfolding and figuring it all out as we went. But
Yeah.
same for me. I kind of had a pretty, not to brag about it, but COVID was an enjoyable experience for me in terms of like just being super creative and
Yeah.
invested in what I was doing and having that space to kind of just, so that was nice. But anyway, a few years ago, I think 2 years ago, I went back. I hadn't been back to Australia in like 5.5 years.
It's a long time.
It was a long time. I felt really like a lot had happened and I was
Yeah.
kind of disconnected from my roots. So coming back to it again, I was like, whoa, this place. I remember this.
Yeah.
I remember thinking about how you would be feeling. You know,
Like that, yeah, because we played a show together in my hometown, in a
Yeah.
big country hall, and that night I hadn't seen any of my friends or family. Yeah,
it's
full
like
on.
re-entering another world. You know?
Yeah.
It's like it would have been
Yeah.
full on.
it was a lot. I was kind of hiding at the back for a lot of it.
Yeah, I can understand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Was out
Think-
back.
Where's the trapdoor?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
That was a fun show, actually. That was really cool.
It was.
good. Remember we had those crazy storms the night before?
Yeah, I think that day we
yeah.
were driving out there to get there for sound check, and I think there were trees coming down on the road, like
Yeah. I mean,
around us.
The day of the show,
Yeah.
all the power was out,
Yeah,
all
I
the
remember
phone
that.
service was out, and it was stinking hot.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I was chainsawing up trees off roads trying to get gear and set the hall up. And we
Yeah.
were setting the hall up during the day,
I remember
just
you had
dripping.
Where else?
Candles all
Queensland.
lit.
Yeah, exactly.
It was so stunning
Camp
though.
Communicating was great.
That's right. I just remember all those candles. I'm like, oh yeah, that's why. There's no power.
Yeah.
Remember, candles lit everywhere.
Yeah. And
It's
then-
like a beautiful kind of candlelit show.
was that, there wasn't AC for you guys, set, right? You were sweating it out up there.
Yeah, we were sweating it out. I
And then
don't
it
think
came
was
on like
AC.
10 p.m. right as I was about to play. Praise be.
There you go.
Yeah.
For the American,
Yeah.
the expat. Yeah.
But yeah, that's awesome. So tell me about, you guys have been going freaking hard the last few years. And respect,
Yeah.
I've been watching you guys on Instagram and just like getting after it. Super
Yeah.
cool. How's it been living on the road and in a van and touring non-stop and being in America, and how's it all going?
That's a big question. I mean, it's like in a word, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I never thought that. I didn't think this was part of my future to be traveling in America. It was always a dream of mine that for some reason it's kind of felt like, oh, I can't do that. It's too big of a thing to
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
bite off and chew. But similar to when we kind of left our jobs in 2019 and took that plunge into touring in Australia, this was kind of like a bigger version of that, where it's like, well, we've done that, so let's try to get over there to
Yeah.
the States and see if we can do that. And
And just like also like, you can't do Australia that much.
Right.
But once you go around, it's like you can't just keep going around,
Right.
around, around.
Right.
There's
Yeah.
less venues, there's more geographical space you have to traverse to get to the next gig. It's
Yeah.
very much
Yeah.
like Canada now, right?
Right.
So
Long
you
distance.
can't just keep going. You gotta leave.
Yeah.
That's why so many artists leave. You have to kind of get out of there
there's not enough work to
Yeah.
keep going.
to sustain you.
Yeah, but I mean, it's when you first get to some place or a country and you're touring, the novelty is so great. Like, around every turn it's something new and exciting and amazing, and not to mention the people you meet and the experiences you're having. But obviously after a little while, like, you know, even the best things can become kind of normalized, and
Right.
we, as you said, we've been touring really like pretty much non-stop for
3 years.
2 or 3 years now, and you know, I think we've learned that there is a reason why most bands and artists do shorter tours, you know,
Right.
1 month, 2 months. We do six months, so that's too much. But kind of part of the reason why we end up doing that is because we have this van that we can sleep in and live out of, and that allows you to kind of just keep going as long as you want to. And based on the fact that we can only really house that vehicle in one place,
Right.
you can't really stop somewhere and then just go home. You've got to bring that van back to where it's being housed,
Which is up in Canada, right?
up in Canada and Ontario. So that sort of forces you, if you have the hunger to do a lot of shows, which we do, those tours can last too long.
Yeah.
So that's where I think we could have maybe tightened up and made shorter tours, but we've just loved so much about just traveling and meeting people that it's so tempting to not do that every time.
Right.
And here we are. It's like year 3 of pretty much making this our life, and we've somehow managed to write an album on the road. And
How was that process, like riding on the road?
It's a good question. Yeah, how do you do
Yeah,
that?
it was cool. It was like we kind of we rented a cabin in Canada in March to just kind of have that space again, carve it out to just sit and try and do that. You know, granted, we're also like we're feverishly trying to write grants to Australia to
What's up in the back of your mind?
So
Yeah.
we're balancing, like, we're in this cute little cabin in Ontario, kind of like 15 minutes from my family's house. And it's actually kind of oddly in some other little sidebar note, it's like on the Minor, so Minor Gold is our band name, it's our mother's maiden name. So it was all the Minor property that the first miners that came from Germany landed there, built a log cabin there, 2 doors down from the cabin we were writing in.
No way.
But we didn't know. We booked it on Airbnb. My mom's like, Side Road 18, that's the Minor, that was all their land.
Oh wow.
So that was kind of freaky and cool.
Was it still snowy that time of the year? Was it cold still?
You saw a bit, eh?
Yeah. Last year in March it wasn't that snowy.
Okay.
This year it really was, but at that time it was still very cold, but just kind of like scatterings of snow and stuff.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's nice.
But we did write in
Yeah,
that
it was.
cabin.
Yeah.
It was cool.
It was nice. We did write. We wrote quite a bit in the cabin.
Is that where you wrote most of your upcoming record?
A bit of it. Eh? Like would you say a few?
A little bit, a quarter of it. I think we wanted to write more there, but you know, I don't know. You can't force it.
Yeah.
It just has to happen when it happens. And funnily enough, a lot of the songs came when we were out actually in the van touring around.
Yeah.
And we would kind of, the closer we would get to our recording date, which I think was early July, we start sweating and going, we need more songs. We need to kind of do the work. So we pull over and go to like a park and find a picnic table and just like
bust it out.
hammer it out.
Really?
Yeah. Morning coffees in the cold at Saratoga Springs.
Yeah.
And
New York.
there's
Yeah.
a
New York,
river
yeah.
there, and we just sat there and have our coffee and
That's
like,
nice.
yeah, it was a bit cold, but you're out there with the guitars just doing the best
It
we
never
could.
felt forced, which was good. I think it just was. It was the tap had been open, so it was just all coming out at that point, which was really,
That's cool.
it was stressful, but
Sometimes that pressure can be good though. Like,
it was.
We've got a date. We gotta make it happen.
It was a good incentivizer for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is that thing too. Like once the tap's open, it seems like you can get in the flow with it.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
feel like you're in that space now.
Yeah, for sure.
You just wrote a song the other morning.
I did.
Yeah.
I wrote a song in the morning, and then Dan came over and played guitar on it. And we ended up re-recording the whole thing. It sounds really good.
That's how it. I won't say should, but I love it when it's like that.
Yeah.
You know, when it's like you have something finished by like the end of the day.
Oh, it's the best.
There's no better
From
feeling.
song
there's not.
to finished
There's
recording in a few hours. It's,
And then you're like, cool, send it off to get mixed and mastered and release
Yeah.
it.
yeah.
There's definitely something nice to that. And having that studio that was set up down there is kind of allowing me that now. So
Yeah, it's
that's
awesome.
It's nice to have it.
Yeah, it's the factory.
Yes. You can just, I just go on there, Rin's like, see ya. My wife, bye, bye.
The song doctors.
Yeah, the song doctors, exactly. Going at me. So you guys wrote that album and then you recorded it in California, yeah?
Yes.
And who'd you do it with again? What was his name?
our hero, Dan Horn,
Horn.
an amazing bass player and pedal steel player, an amazing musician and producer, really,
Yeah.
and a real key figure in that kind of Los Angeles. I mean, his tastes are really wide, but people know him for like his inclusion in like the sort of Laurel Canyon kind of.
Is that where his studio is?
70s kind of sound. His studio's in Glendale.
Glendale, okay.
Yeah, but he really does kind of like get that amazing like vintage kind of sound, you know,
Yeah.
which we love.
Yeah, for sure. Those Mapache records are really cool.
Oh yeah. And there's a bunch of other ones too. There's an artist called Austin McCutcheon who has put one album out, and it's a little more country, but like really good songs and great voice. And I think Dan produced that, and it's just got that sound. And,
That's cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
And you guys definitely have like a sun-drenched California vibe to your music as well, which is cool that you could do it in California.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a lot of your influences are California stuff.
Yeah, it's all that West Coast stuff is always really like, it just never ceases to kind of get me off.
Yeah, no,
so I just keep coming back to the well. It's like,
which is super cool that you got to go and do it there.
it was great. And
First record we've made, like, not in Australia.
Really?
Too.
Yeah,
like, just
right,
going
okay.
right straight to the source.
Yeah.
It felt like it was, really cool.
And
we
you
did
put
it
it
in a
out?
week too, fastest record we've ever
Did ya?
made. We had 5 days.
Was it
That
live?
was
You did
it.
it live with the band?
Yeah.
yeah, everything on the record is pretty much first, second, or third takes.
Wow.
And that's just like we were pretty proud of that because we went from just meeting Dan and then meeting Austin Beatty, the drummer that came to play with us, and then in half an hour you're like playing together for the very first time.
So no pre-production or anything, just kind of went in
Nothing,
and-
no rehearsals,
Wow.
nothing. And we sent the songs to Dan and Austin, but I don't know if they listened to them. They didn't need to because we were like, it was just there. Like,
Yeah, well,
and it was, everything, because, we were a fan of what they did before we even met them. And it was a thrill to kind of like hear the takes go down and recognize hallmarks of their playing.
That's cool.
That's making
Yeah.
its way into your music.
Had you heard on other stuff? So
Exactly.
Like, oh, that's
Yeah.
that thing they did.
Yeah,
Exactly. And
Yeah,
it was
that's
like,
cool.
oh, that's
That's nice.
that's
It's
a
happening.
thrill.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. And then we got back, and as you do, Dan, it was Dan that was like, we don't have enough songs. Like, there's something missing, And so we cut a few of the tracks. We were like, no, they're not going to make it. And then we sat down and wrote a couple more.
Did
and
ya?
then got the title track, Way to the Sun, and another song,
So you went
Break
back.
Fake It. Went back to my parents and wrote 3 more songs in like
Okay.
a weekend, I think, or
Yeah.
something. And
Yeah.
went back and cut them.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was on our way back to Australia. We were going through Los Angeles to go to the airport anyway.
Yeah.
So we're like, hey Dan, can you, do you have any spare time? I was like, yeah, I've got like 2 days. So we went there and, recorded what would be important songs for the album.
That's great.
So yeah, it was certainly like you want it to be finished,
Yeah.
but then you would know this, like when there's a missing piece of the puzzle.
Right.
And,
Just a few more things to
Yeah.
shore it up.
And it did, thank goodness. That
Yeah,
it pushed
was
for
that the first single from the album, Way to the Sun?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many have you put out now? 2 or 3?
3 now.
3.
Yeah, the most recent one just came out, not that it matters, last Friday. So there's, I think, one more single coming out before the album.
Yeah,
Cool.
Yeah.
And when's the actual album release?
July 25th. Yeah.
That's
July
exciting.
25th, yeah.
Very cool. And you guys will still be in America when it comes out, or will you be back in Australia?
We'll be here.
You'll be here.
Yeah, we'll be West Coast.
Well, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
We head back shortly afterwards in early August.
Okay.
Back to Australia, so to be, have my birthday back home this year.
Oh, yeah?
Kind of nice.
That'd be
First
nice.
time in 3 years, I think.
Yeah.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. That's nothing on you though. You have your birthday over here every year.
Yeah, mostly up there.
Do your parents send you? Do you get family like packages from?
I do, yeah. Mum sends me little care packages.
That's nice.
It is nice. All sorts of random things, coffee bags.
That you might come from.
Yeah,
from
imagine
London.
that came from them. Yeah.
I miss that actually.
Yeah. It's
You
nice.
can't get it here at all?
I think there's like a world market here in Nashville
Yeah.
that has stuff like that.
Yeah.
The Publix over there has like a little Australian section. They have like violet crumbles and
Really?
aero bars,
Wow.
Wow.
things like that.
I think it's like Aussie invasion over here. Like, that's what people were saying to, like, each venue we've been playing this week. They're like, there's so many Australians. And there
Very
were.
bloody
There's a
Australians.
lot of Australians here.
Oh yeah, for
Like
sure.
music makers. you
Oh, a
know?
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely a big draw in Nashville.
Yeah.
In the country side, obviously the more pop country side of things, but also just the Americana side of things as well, whatever you want to call it.
Keith started it.
Yeah, what do you guys think about that term, Americana? Does it worry you? Do you like it? Do you not care?
I used to be when I was like 19 or 20 years old, I remember seeing somewhere in Brisbane someone had referred to themselves as an Americana artist, and back then in like 2009 or whatever it was, I was like, that is ridiculous.
Right.
Like it really didn't sit with me at all. But I think over the time, and I think a lot of people are like this, you just get so tired of trying to like categorize yourself that it seemed like everyone overnight just kind of went, we're okay with the term Americana. It describes so many things that just no one has the time to kind of get into.
Yeah.
So it's like it's a good, convenient umbrella term, and I just kind of just submit to it.
Yeah.
Even though it's not exactly, I wouldn't say it encapsulates everything about what we do, but it seems to be kind of like, you know, for the person on the street you're passing that says, what kind of music do you make? In fact, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know how descriptive it really is at all. Like, what is a person actually going to derive from that? You
Tell an
know?
Aussie on the street of Americana, they're like,
What?
what, mate?
Yeah, right.
I don't care, and I think it's like
Yeah.
it's defining the genre, and it kind of has come from here.
Influences.
So what does
Sure.
it matter? It's like it doesn't even, you know, whether you're sitting in Germany or you're sitting in Australia. If you're playing that style of music, it's like you're just describing the genre. So I don't really
Because I think before
care.
Americana,
People going around
was-
going Australiana. It's like I don't know. I just think we just need to get over it. It is what it is.
Well,
It
there's
doesn't matter where you
remember
are.
there was old country before there was
Yeah, yeah.
Americana,
Yeah.
and that seemed to be like the thing that everyone could understand
Yeah.
a little bit.
Right.
But even that, like, I mean, people would disagree about how we sound. If you talk to a hardcore folk artist about what we sounded like, they would say maybe we sound a little country.
Mm.
But to a country artist, we sound like freaking
Folk.
Peter, Paul, and Mary, you know? Like,
You're right, right.
Mhm.
So it's like, it's really about what angle you're viewing it from. Because I don't really feel like there's that much country in what we do, even though, you know, it's like rock and roll encompasses country, blues, and, you know, folk music, I guess, but
It's like all music kind of borrowed, right?
kind
Yeah.
of,
Yeah, it's an interesting term. It felt like it came out of nowhere.
Yeah. Well,
One day it just existed.
Yeah, and in Australia particularly, it was like, that's Americana. And for myself, I was like, oh, what's that term? Kind of got on board with it. I don't know what I feel about it now. I guess I just kind of don't care, like you said as well, a little bit. But as an Australian, it can sometimes feel weird to say I do Americana.
Yes.
yeah.
Especially when if you're writing a press release and you go, Australian duo that do Americana music.
Right.
It's like there is something incongruous about that. Which
Yeah.
just feels like there's got to be a better way to describe this. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I just like, I mean, and they won't have a category for it like, you know, it's folk awards, ARIA awards, like they just will not create a category
For Americana.
for Americana, even though there are so many artists.
What is it, Roots in Australia, I guess?
It's blues and roots.
Blues and Roots, which is a broad
Yeah.
as well.
I don't know how we fit into that, but I guess that would be the place that would put us, you know?
Yeah.
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 I
But there's
think,
not even a folk category, I don't think, in ARIAs, but I
No.
don't think.
I don't think
Yeah.
there is.
No.
Yeah, it's weird. But it's not popular music, I guess, so
Yeah.
that's probably why.
Yeah, I guess Australia is a small population.
Mm.
Yeah.
Right, compared to America, like you guys said, you can just tour here all year long. You never stop.
yeah.
If
You
you wanted
can.
to, which you guys haven't.
Yeah.
We just had like the longest break we've ever had. We had a month off. We spent 21 days in the same parking lot. It was like a challenge. I was talking to my stepdad, and he's like, "You're not gonna make it. You're not
Really?
gonna make it. You're gonna get
So
bored.
you
You're gonna
dad
want to
was-
leave." And I was like, "No, we're gonna do it." And we were in Wilmington, North Carolina, and it was like the cheapest thing we could do. We loved the beach, so we had this whole routine worked out. We just kept shifting our way around.
The car
From
park?
in front of the gym, behind the gym. We've got a gym fitness pass, and so it's kind of like the safest, best option. It's like
Yeah.
a step up from the Walmart, you know.
Yeah.
And 21 days. We did the whole month in Wilmington.
And you cook in the car park outside the band?
We would do our breakfast in the car, like we would, you know,
So you
make
would get
coffee
busted,
and
yeah.
then we would do the oats and a little one burner stove. And you get some weird looks, but we've gotten really good at being super discreet.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, like one time I emptied the coffee grinds into the garden near the library,
Yeah.
and the librarian turned up and was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Making coffee." He was just like,
mulching. Good point.
if you forget how weird it must look 'Cause,
Right.
you know, who's making coffee in a Bodum in their van at like 7 in the morning, you know?
Wilmington,
Yeah, it must look a bit weird, but we kind of had to keep convincing ourselves that, like, no one cares. And I don't think people really care that much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone's kind of too self-focused to kind of be worrying about what you're doing. But for 21 days, we thought our odds would run out, but we managed to get through it.
That's amazing.
Which was
Yeah.
cool. And then by the end of it, at first I was really stressed about, like, what it would be like just emotionally to be in one place, like living in a van for that long.
Yeah.
I thought this is gonna, like, eat me away. But by the end of it, like, I totally
We
turned.
didn't want to leave.
Really?
And
We
it
had a
felt
good
like
thing going.
We're like,
Yeah.
routine, one base.
We did.
No, dude, it was exactly like that. It was
Yeah.
really amazing. Like,
Because we had it mapped out, right? Like we slept there, but then we'd go park down at the Publix and get the free park at the Publix to then walk 20 minutes to the beach, spend the day on the beach, come back to the car,
Wow, that's amazing.
go back to the gym, do a workout, shower,
Yeah.
and then we go across the road to Aldi, get some food, go to the park down the road,
Oh, you got
cook
that
our
sorted.
food,
Yeah.
walk around the park, and then late at night we would pull in behind the Walgreens. I'd hop into the back, and then Dan would drive to the gym so nobody sees me hop into the back.
That's elaborate.
Dan would pretend
Oh.
he's getting something out of the van, and then he'd look, and then hop in.
That's
So.
funny.
I make
Yeah.
it sound like it was like this nice routine, but honestly, like at,
You're
like,
stressed.
at step 10 of the day, getting in and out of the van,
Like,
for the-
fuck, someone's
I'm like,
coming.
this is fucked.
Yeah, I
I
know.
was like losing my mind, but, like, you know, that is this life.
Yeah.
In, out of the van, driving, and as we started off saying at the start of this podcast, like, if you don't make time to get your guitar out of the car and play, it won't happen.
Right.
You just have to, like,
Yeah.
carve out time to do it. Otherwise, your whole life, like making food, driving,
It's like camping. You know?
shopping, it's like it just can take up every single minute of the day.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah,
It's so true.
And like hotels, if like you were sick a lot at the beginning of the tour, we'd gone and done for the first time in UK and Europe. That was our first tour over there, and we did 3 conferences and a tour. Almost 20 dates over there, plus 3 conferences, and we were just like, and then flew straight to Canada to do Folk Alliance conference,
Montreal.
and then we had about a week off, and then started our U.S. tour. So we were just shattered, and you were so sick. So the whole first part of our tour, we kind of ate into our budget. We had to get hotels. You can't do the van when you're crook.
Yeah,
So,
jeez.
you know, but for the most
I
part,
was like a little insipid child from the 1800s.
Tracy, help me.
he was dying. He was dying. He was such jelly.
Pull the blankets up.
B12.
Yeah.
Sunshine.
Yeah.
I thought I was dying.
You
You
were.
were saying that yesterday, yeah. It's
Yeah.
funny though when you're sick for a while, you start to think all sorts of things. I've got cancer, oh, this is the end of me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your brain just catastrophizes it, and then
I
you
was
go to the
going
doctor and you're
down.
like, here you go. I'm like, oh, thanks.
Yeah.
I'm good.
You know what was so weird is that when I finally went to the doctor, I thought I was kind of getting better, but I wasn't at the point where I was, you know, kind of comfortable with it. But I went down to the doctor and I was sitting in the waiting room, and like the closer it got for me to go into my appointment, I started to get like this fever and then like a cold sweat, and I was dizzy,
Well,
and it was like still very cold. So I had like all my like, you know, kind of winter attire on. I had gotten down to the point where I had to ask the doctor, do you mind if I like take my shirt off? I'm so hot. It was so, my brain was just like folding in on itself.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there like, and she had to get me the bucket and everything. So I'm just sitting there
Jeez.
with like just down to like a singlet sweating.
how long were you this sick for?
Like,
Months you were sick.
Really?
Yeah. He was sick at the
I
end
don't
of
know
your
what it was. I think it was, you know,
Yeah. You were questioning this life, the impossible way of life.
Impossible. There's a podcast actually called Impossible Way of Life, which kind of, you know, comes from like the band The Last Waltz. Anyway, it's
Okay.
Impossible Way of Life.
Yeah, right.
That's what Robbie says when he's being questioned by Martin Scorsese about like life on the road.
Yeah, right.
Robbie says it's an impossible way of life.
Yeah. It's like every artist ever, you grapple with the balance of it.
Mhm.
The things you sacrifice for it, for what you get. And
Yes,
all that
yeah,
stuff. How have you guys found like trying to stay healthy on the road, keeping on top of your routines in that regard?
The GMA is pretty great. Like that whole system
Yeah.
is great because we do go work out in the gym. We don't just shower and use it for a bed at night kind of thing parked in front of it, but we do use that, and that's so important. Like,
So it's a lifeline, really.
Yeah.
Like most days you go to the gym.
Every
on the
single
road.
day.
Really, yeah.
We're always.
Yeah.
I mean, our whole like trajectory, aside from the obvious shows we're playing, are based on where the gym is.
Yeah.
So you look on the map and go, okay, there's Anytime Fitness here, the show's there, let's go to that one. And
Yeah.
you make time for it, because if you don't, I feel like, yeah, we really get into a strange place. You know, the exercise helps a lot.
And eating, we try to eat well. We try to the best we can, you know, within
It's hard in
reason.
America on the road,
It's
isn't
hard.
it? It's like a food wasteland of
It is. It's
what can
hard.
I actually eat. It's not gonna kill me.
Every gas station is like a strip club for your appetite.
Yeah, but it's like
Yeah.
anti-food. It's not even food.
No, it's
Yeah.
not. It's like, yeah, lots you.
Yeah.
We do the best we can, and it needs more effort sometimes, which sometimes you don't have the energy for at the end of the day. And Dan does all like 100% of the driving. I offer. I'm
Yeah.
a shit driver, but I do offer. But you like it.
I'm a
and-
bad passenger.
So you're like driving
Yeah.
5-6 hours, yeah, and then you don't feel like getting out, like making something.
Which driving takes it out of me as well after a while, like.
I guess it does. I don't feel like it does, but it must.
Yeah.
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 But mental health is huge. Like we really start to kind of deteriorate. Like we're not drinking as much at all. This tour, the last tour was kind of like, you know, I don't know. We were wasted all the time. I
Motley
think, but
Crue.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
but
Folk Motley Crue.
yeah, the folk Motley Crue.
Yeah.
We're kind of off the booze at the moment. We have like we might go share a beer in the park with our meat and greens kind of thing, you know.
Was that because the last tour kind of showed you guys like, all right, we need to.
Health and finances, like it's
Yeah.
just so expensive. We look back at when we're doing our American tax now, and it's like holy crap, we spend a lot of money on booze, but a lot of socializing. You're every new town, you're meeting your buddies again, and it's
Yeah.
like social hours. So coping with social things and not having to drink is like another hurdle.
Yes.
Like not using it as a crutch.
For sure. That's huge.
Not using it as a crutch to get ready for the show or any anxiety you have, and I think we're just getting better at that. And so we've had like maybe 5 drinks in the last month or something.
Wow.
Like which feels good. Just
Yeah,
kind of cleaner living.
I find myself at a place, I know you do too, where it's like the light at the end of the tunnel, which is like the idea that maybe you don't need to drink at all.
Right.
That's always kind of popping up
Yeah.
as an option. Like, I could possibly do that, you know, like not because we need to, but because I think it's just, I think the quality of life, or just the respect for your body and your mind is like so worth it.
Yeah, and sometimes it just feels like life is already weird and
Mm.
hard enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without waking up with a hangover every day. And
Yeah,
Yep.
relying on all these things to get you by, you know. And
Yeah.
it's coupled with
yeah.
being on tour and living in a van and all that stuff. It's like you need everything you can to freaking stay
That's
straight.
right.
Totally.
And it takes a while to get used to it. Like I think coming from situations where like with my 5-piece band, it was like holiday time.
Yeah.
When we go on tour,
Mm.
everybody had the day jobs. They leave the day jobs and we go, oh, we're going on tour for a couple of weeks, and it's just like party. It's like an escape from your life. But when it's your everyday, it's so not sustainable. Like I'm too old for that. I'll die
Right.
tomorrow if I can't get up and do like 7 shows in a row and be drinking every night.
You
Like,
can't,
it's just,
yeah.
I used to look at older bands and I'd go, yeah, they don't drink. Like we got to support Dawes when they came to Australia, just the 2 of us, which was really cool.
That's cool.
But they're up in the Northgate Social Club in the green room, and they're like, you know, yoga mats out, water's out, and I'm like, wow, they really, they're
Yeah.
not even touching that rider.
No.
Like the rider was like,
We got to drink their beer.
You were
so-
drinking it?
yeah, we
See,
drank your beer.
But
Yeah.
we did take note that it's like they weren't doing that.
Yeah,
Because
interesting.
they got a big tour ahead of them, and with their kind of music especially, like it's so precise and masterful. Like, you know,
Yeah,
you
what's the
need
point?
you need to have
On the
like-
ball.
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But just as a lifestyle, it was interesting to see that that's what people who do it full time end up doing. You know.
Yeah.
and you need that space to like to survive. We're just like in a capsule together, 24 hours a day. You know, like we're partners in life, partners in music, partners in business, partners in
For real.
cooking, partners
Yeah.
in waking up, like it's just there's no escape from each other, you know.
Yeah.
And I think like often, you know, most people think, how do we not kill each other? But like, I think it's like you have to have time where you're not thinking about music and you're not talking about this life that we created for ourselves. And that's something that I struggle with more than Dan. You're able to kind of escape and look out the window and really see what's going by you. Where I've got one of those brains that I'm like, did we pay that invoice? Did we email that person? You know. And I struggle big time with trying to shut that out. So that's a conversation we have every day about how can we kind of fix that and improve that, carving out that mental space where you're looking at the trees, you're floating down a river, you're not thinking about whether the show's going to be shit or the show's going to be great or who's going to come and did we pay Tony. You know, it's like
Right.
it's just kind of all gotta.
Well, people need to get paid for sure, but
Yeah.
I think yeah,
Yeah,
it can
That's so important.
take over your whole life. Even the you can get swallowed up by your image,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
which is really
Nauseating.
for me at least. Yeah, it can be really just taxing and boring.
Yes.
Like to me, that is really boring, and I just can't spend much time there because there's just so many other amazing things to be thinking about apart from you. Or what,
Mhm.
and it's just I don't.
It's a tricky balance. It's the same with social media these days too.
Yeah.
Because everyone that you talk to is like, you have to be marketing and branding yourself and putting out content all the time.
that's right.
Because if you're not doing that, people aren't aware of you and caring about you.
That's right.
But then even doing that every day, you can get in that space of like, oh, I'm passionate about myself. Here I am editing a video about myself.
Yeah.
This kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's like a necessary evil.
Am I giving back here, or am I
Yeah.
just like constantly?
Mm-hmm.
But you hope that your music is giving back and helping people, which
That's it.
It's constantly an adjustment of expectation.
Yes.
You know, and we sometimes can get that right for like what feels like 2 minutes.
A nanosecond.
And then it goes back to being something that's kind of unhealthy, but like, unfortunately for me, the place where I find, and I'm just saying me because I've we've had solo careers before mine are gold, but like the place that's comfortable for me is often the place where I'm underperforming.
Yeah.
Like as in like a social media kind of output level, you know?
In terms of your creativity?
No, self-promotion.
Oh, okay.
And like attachment to kind of like my career as it were, you know. I could never, like, one of the things that's been great about being in a duo with somebody else is that their level of commitment to the image or the brand or the output of promotional sort of materials is so much higher than mine.
Right.
So you get to see firsthand, wow, this is what it looks like when someone like devotes a lot of time to, because Tracy was always so amazing with her own career.
Mm-hmm.
Like photos and videos and even though you would say you could have done more, you did a lot more than I did.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's been amazing to be witness to that and to reap the benefits of that kind of work ethic. But at the same time, it can drag you to places that you just don't kind of want to go to.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing we're working out.
Mhm.
I think if
And I can learn to be more the way you are, like let it go.
if we could meet in the
Yeah.
middle a little more, that's the sweet spot. But it would mean parting with the expectation that all this stuff's going to happen because you're right, like what you put out should be what you get back, but so often it's not.
Right.
And it's at the end of the day, I think my personal philosophy is that my mental health and my happiness and our relationship is that trumps everything.
Yeah.
So I would reverse engineer it to have that be the thing that
Center.
be the center and everything kind of works around that. And if that means we have to kind of do X, Y, and Z, pull back here or whatever, I'm happy to do that. It's just, you know, we were saying yesterday, like, how do you want the rest of your life to look?
Yeah.
You know?
For sure. And
Yeah.
I think the older you get, the more you start to be like, oh, I'm like halfway through my life now. So
That's it.
What's the next 30 or 40 years going to look like?
Yeah.
That might be the end of the whole thing.
That's it.
Exactly.
It's like self-care, you know, you gotta kind of sometimes put yourself first. And I think what we go through and what so many artists go through, if you're grassroots and you don't have that team
Mm-hmm.
around you that's doing all that and doing, you know, someone to do your social media for you, which I can't even imagine that, but
We wouldn't
I
let
don't
them-
even want them to. We're too controlling.
Too
controlling.
It's not a brand.
Yeah. What are
Yeah.
you doing?
But like, man, I'd love someone to do all the other stuff that all the other hats we wear.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Like
That's a lot of hats.
there's a lot of hats. You know, you got to be able to write grants, and you got to be able to write your press, and you got to be able to do your graphics, and you got to be able to, you know, it's
And you
just
do all
it's
that, right?
endless.
Well,
Yeah,
like
we
your
do all
graphics
of
and
that.
stuff, yeah.
We don't outsource. There's nothing we outsource except for a tax agent
Wow.
And recording
and recording.
and stuff like that. But even
That's so boring, tax agent, but it's true.
Yeah.
It's like that's the only thing in recording. Everything else we do, which I don't recommend, but it's like that's the way we're rolling. We have an agent in Europe, but we do all our own booking
Wow.
everywhere.
Yeah, that's a
Which-
big workload.
When you don't want to get, it's
But
like
kudos, man. That's like amazing.
It works for us, but you have to know to put it in its place.
And it's probably difficult for you guys because you're in it. But I think it'll definitely be something you guys look back on and go, wow,
oh, I think so.
we freaking did that.
Yeah.
Because that's how I felt looking from the outside of like how you guys, how hard you've gone in your work ethic. I think really, really cool and inspiring.
Well, dude, I mean, the same could be said for you. I remember you leaving to go to the US, and I just, like, kind of touches on what I said before about, like, me not having that view of that being a possibility for me. You doing that really helped me see that it was possible.
Yeah,
to
it's
go
brave.
and do. It's super brave, and like none of my peers had done that. You think you were one of the first people to kind of go, you know what, I'm doing this, and off you went, and it was like you did it.
Yeah.
You're still here.
Yeah.
And nothing
Yeah.
terrible happened. You didn't you didn't bottom out. You didn't nothing. You've made a really great life for yourself.
Yeah.
And that was super
It's inspiring.
inspiring. Yeah.
There's a few Australians that have come before us, you being one of them, and Jordy and Claire and some other people, and it's like Bex, and you go, wow, that's something that they're doing, you know? It's like I agree with you there. It felt like something that was impossible for us to do.
Right.
But wow, wouldn't that be great? How do they do that? And by the time you kind of wrangle around it, I'm really glad we did it, but it was inspiring, so.
Your song Austin to is that Annandale to Austin?
Yeah.
Is that about you leaving? Obviously going to. Was that about?
That was about one of the trips, I think the 2015 trip I'd done to America.
Yep.
Yeah, because I moved to Canada when I was 21. It was right around the time my dad had passed away, and a bunch of stuff had kind of happened at home in Australia, and I'd finished like my carpentry apprenticeship because I go straight out of school and did a carpentry apprenticeship.
Where in Canada?
British Columbia.
Okay, yeah.
Never seen snow before, and I wanted to just go work and live in the mountains for a while. So I moved over there with my best friend at the time, just wanted to get out of Australia. And then while I was there, I started doing trips to America, and just kind of, again, coming back to that convict mentality thing. I don't know. Just as Australians, I think we look out a lot to the rest of the world to kind of see like what's going on and where are the other places. And kept kind of coming back to America. Did multiple trips all through my 20s, and then started doing a few like random tours here. And, put it together and got the O1 and eventually moved here. So.
Just before that, you were actually just on the road pretty much full time in your van as well, weren't you?
Was in Australia and New Zealand. Done a lot of touring. Used to live in my van, couch hopping, to a place in Melbourne, and whoever else would have me.
Yeah.
That was cool. I mean, that actually was really. I think that actually certainly made me realize that you could do that.
Yeah,
It's possible.
It's possible to hop in a van and go do something like that.
You certainly kind of put yourself at the whim of, the whole part of the process. Just kind of go, all right, here I go. I'm gonna do this thing. We'll see what happens.
Yes.
And figure it out though.
Yep. And it's kind of like siphoning water out of something. Once it starts going, it doesn't stop.
Yeah.
And everything becomes about supporting that decision that you've made. The commitment to like being free.
Yes.
But it costs a lot to feel it costs a lot of money, but it does cost relationships, and it costs time with family and stuff like that. Townes Van Zandt once said it's a life that you kind of got to blow everything off.
Yes.
Security.
Yeah.
And
having like a stable base to really return to. And
yeah. And I reckon, I don't want to speak for you guys, but I feel like it's been worth it.
Yeah, I don't regret it at all. I mean, there's days where that feels like a cage we've built for ourselves. The irony, or the kind of dichotomy of living in this ultimate, freedom reality, but you kind of the days where you can't, you don't even. There's days when you don't want to play. There's days when you're just like, man, I'd kill for
I don't want
a
to socialize.
couch
Yeah.
and just like a house and just lay low for a little while. And you can't. You got to get back on the horse. And you're like, wow, I'm not free at all. Like I'm strapped to this thing. I got to keep going. And then the next day the wind changes, and you're like, fuck, this is the best.
Yeah. What an amazing
So
life I'm
you're
living.
just up and down and all around, but
It's a roller coaster, right?
It's a roller coaster, but I have no regrets.
No,
I don't think you do either.
No.
It's been incredible, and we got so much more touring
Yeah, you guys have got
coming
a lot of
up,
touring
like a
coming
big Australian album tour from September to December,
Amazing.
with some great festivals this year.
What
which is
festivals are you guys
great.
doing?
Oh,
Can you announce yet?
We can announce Groundwater, and we
Cool.
can announce
Dorigo.
Oh, Dorigo.
Dorigo,
Yeah, nice.
and we can announce it's being announced this Thursday, so I'm assuming this won't be out. So yeah, Queenscliff, which
Great.
is actually a career first
That's awesome.
for us as Minor
Yeah.
Gold and even ourselves. So that's cool.
Yeah.
There's a few others that we can announce, but
It was-
and then off to Europe and UK again next year.
That's
Yeah.
cool. How did you
Yeah.
find touring over there?
It was great. It was incredible, in the sense that, I mean, it was, 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 it was when our agent gave us the list of venues we were going to be playing, these were biggish places, like, you know, a couple of hundred capacity, like cultural centres in Germany and Denmark and Netherlands, and we were like, all right, man, like, if you think that it's going to work, we'll do it. And it's really a testament to like the relationship that the Europeans have with like art. Like, these places were pretty much always full.
Yeah.
Amazing, like, just couldn't believe it. And that's got little to do with us. I mean, obviously, if we had have been terrible, they may not have turned up, but like they come out to see something happen.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, which is really great. And it was it
Such
was
a cool experience.
just as far as like being
And everything's closer
looked
than
after.
Europe?
Yeah, it's all really close
Yeah.
proximity, like country-wise, you know.
They really
it's cool.
take care of you too. Like, the hospitality is insane. Like, so much food. They feed you. They put you up in a nice hotel, and
Wow.
or at their house. Like, that's even better when you get to live in this little space where you see these people live and they're cooking a homemade, you know,
Yeah.
food for you, and you get to see a slice of their life. It's like, it's really cool. They looked after us really well.
Oh yeah, and
Yeah, it was good.
being in Germany was particularly awesome, and the people there were really great. And we had this really funny exchange once where we were talking about like the Germans, generally speaking, like kind of as a crowd, quite restrained and intense, like with their kind of focus.
Yeah.
Even to the point where you're like, are they enjoying this? Like,
Yeah.
But the applause would be great. But then they'd sync up into this kind of like, it would go from like just the applause you'd hear, and they all kind of like sync up into this uniform thing.
That's so
Yeah.
German.
Yeah.
So German. And then we
Perfect claps.
Yeah.
that's right. And then someone said, look, if you're ever worried about a German audience, just watch their feet. If they're tapping their foot, they're going berserk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Please, staring at that.
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
getting a read on the feet.
Yeah. Play harder.
Yeah, it was intense, but it was.
That was cool.
It was really.
Was that
fun.
mostly German audiences like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's a very, very German thing,
That's
for
fun.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, passionate applause at the end, but they look like they're hating it. They're just like, and then at the end, they're super passionate. But yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah.
And a
That's
little bit
good.
in the UK, which is a little tougher
Is
not
it?
to crack. Yeah.
You guys went to what, Ireland as well?
We didn't play any shows in Ireland. We went there for a conference.
For a conference.
Yeah, which is cool. And man, talk about a beautiful place. My
So
goodness.
Dublin?
We
Flew into
flew into
Dublin.
Dublin
Okay.
and we drove south to County Cork,
Okay.
Killarney, and went through. Actually, it was quite amazing. Like the first night we got there, we had organised to try to drive from Dublin down to the conference in
Yeah.
one sit, one go.
I
Yeah.
miscalculated.
It's like a 5-hour drive,
Yeah.
so we got in at night, and I just couldn't stay awake. So we ended up staying halfway in Kilkenny. Got in at night, couldn't really see anything. Went to the motel, woke up the next morning, and we're like surrounded by medieval castles
Wow.
and little streams and like peasant walks and stuff. And it's like, I just
Yeah.
couldn't believe it. It was
Peasants everywhere.
Yeah, peasants.
throwing seed at me. But yeah, that was a
That's
thrill.
cool.
Kind of like to be all of a sudden in like a very, very old place.
It was
I
classic.
love those ones where you come in at night and you wake up in the
Yes.
morning like, this is a whole new world I've never seen.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, there was all this fog. We were driving through the
Greensleeves
fog
playing.
down
Yeah.
these cobblestone roads. Like, it was like out of a movie. It was great. It was
Oh, that's
beautiful.
amazing.
Yeah.
Out of a fairy tale. But yeah, so we'll go
What
back
do you
and
think?
do that, and then more America next year. Probably, maybe our last U.S. tour.
Yeah?
Maybe. Well, our visas expire in August, so
That's a process,
unless
isn't it?
we
The arts visa thing.
extend them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we would be totally up for getting them again, just if we could just find that much money, you know. It's
Yeah,
expensive.
it is
but,
expensive.
But we've loved being here and playing, and our music, you know, sort of, as much as Americana is maybe responsible for how, you know, describing how we sound, the music we make does really stem from here. you
Right,
know,
right.
As far as a sonic kind of thing. But so it's been really cool to see that reflected back in the audiences, you know, like certainly at first when we played over here, it was like, oh wow, like it seems like
You just get it.
there's a level of unspokenness here where it's like they understand what this music is because it comes from here.
Right.
Whereas I think sometimes you can feel like back home, there's an element to the music that's just not of that place.
Yeah, for sure. It's a bit more niche over there.
Which is a shame in a way because, like, you know, we could do a whole other podcast on this. Like the Australian identity, you know.
Yeah.
But I think it really is important to. I'd love to see Australia kind of. I know there's been a lot of people who have adopted it, like Paul Kelly and Slim Dusty and John Williamson. Like they are true Australian artists with their stories and with their accent, and it's really impressive. And I really respect people who can do that. And there's been an element of Americanization in Australia for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's hard because that music exists, and so often it is awesome.
Yeah.
And you can't help but let that seep into your music and the way maybe you enunciate. But yeah, you know what I'm saying?
I do. Yeah.
I totally understand what you're saying. Yeah. And Australia's a weird kind of hodgepodge of British culture, American culture,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
our own culture.
Yes.
So we kind of like go in all directions.
It's in a state
Yeah.
of flux, probably. Who knows what will be the case as far as what Australian music sounds like in 100 years.
Yeah.
You know, I wonder like where it might end up. Whether there'll be other countries trying to sound like us.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
That'd be interesting.
That would be odd.
Because I just read Slim. I was telling you, I just read Slim Dusty's bio. And I was like, I never understood why Aussies try to sound like Americans. They're definitely not trying to sound like us. Yeah, but also if all you listen to is American pop country, that's probably how you're going to sing.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's where you want it to end up too. If you want it to appeal to a broader audience, I think artists just naturally tend to shift. So it's universal.
Yeah.
It can be kind of accepted by if you're trying to get that whole thing of getting out of Australia.
Right.
If you want to stay in Australia, fine. But if you want to get out of Australia, I think probably it's you're going to get further.
Yeah.
Perhaps without the thick Australian accent, and when we were talking to sync agents, they're talking about. It's interesting. They were saying you guys together, because I'm North American, and I have a tiny bit of an Australian accent from living there, but then Dan's accent, anyway, the blend we have together, she said, is really kind of universal and neutral. You have this weird kind of neutral.
Yeah.
We don't know where you're from.
Right.
And she said that's a good thing because it can just be, it can be,
Can be placed
broadly
anywhere, yeah.
placed, yeah. But I mean, it depends what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
And if you really want to stay true to the roots and your roots and
For sure.
sing in with your authentic accent, then go for it.
Yeah.
It depends, I guess, what you're after artistically and.
It seems like more indie bands here do well with it, or indie artists. Like
Yeah.
Courtney Barnett is huge here.
Yeah.
She sings very Australian.
Amyl
Yeah.
and the Sniffers.
Emma and the
Emma
Sniffers are huge, and
Sniffers.
they're super Australian. They sing about
Yeah.
Australian things and Australian
Chats.
cities, chats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Yeah,
like
I do
we,
too.
we both love those bands, but it's really refreshing
Yeah.
Mhm.
to hear that. And
Good
to be
music's
like,
good music, right?
well, it doesn't feel what's the word, like,
Hokey.
yeah, it doesn't feel pretentious. It feels like really like honest.
Yeah.
And in the same way, Americans love Australians. They
Mhm.
love Australian culture,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and they just do most Americans should be like, you're Australian. Oh.
Yeah.
And their eyes line up, and they
Yes.
start telling you about some Australian thing,
I
and asking
think-
you about spiders.
Yeah.
What helps with bands like Amyl and the Sniffers particularly is I think that is not to like generalize Australians, because obviously being one, I know that there's so much more to it than just like that image.
Yeah.
But that level of bombast and kind of energy and kind of like punk kind of ethos, I think fits very well with like the generalized view of what Americans maybe think Australians are.
Yes.
For sure.
Like, Crocodile Dundee and stuff like that. And
AC/DC.
AC/DC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's true that really the glove fits,
Yeah.
when it comes to like that Australian larrikinism, the culture kind of like I understand that.
Yeah.
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 A big
Sure.
part of our culture.
Mm.
Convicts saying,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's something, like I remember as a Canadian before I came over here listening, I had this job where I could put headphones on. I was doing like stock photography stuff in Canada, just sitting there all day. I could have headphones on. I was listening to Australian artists
Really?
before coming over. And I couldn't wait to get there. And there was just something so kind of rough and ragged about, and loose. There was a looseness. There was like a, I don't give a shit attitude. To all of the stuff that I was listening to just felt really authentic and unpolished yet, I'm not saying it's not sophisticated, like highly sophisticated, but not like this shiny, polished bullshit.
Rough around the edges.
It was rough around the
Yeah.
edges, and there was something I was like, fuck, it's so exciting. It's so exciting. I wasn't hearing that in Canada.
Right.
I was not inspired at all by what I was hearing on the radio at the time, generally speaking. I was like, man, this it just sounds so different.
And
it was
exactly.
exciting.
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
really, there's something different in the water. There's something going on there that was like the dirt under the nails kind of thing. And it was
I think,
in the music.
yeah, I think Australians have that connection to land and the connection to nature and the landscape we have. Bands like Midnight Oil as well, they're massive in the day, singing about very Australian things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it can transcend for sure. Yeah, it's interesting.
Well, there's many more songs to write,
Yeah.
Always.
and it makes me excited, like, to think that that it is funny. Like, I think truthfully there are like Australian stories from my own upbringing that haven't been told yet,
Yes.
and I kind of makes me excited to kind of tap into how that story would be told through
That
a
is
song.
exciting.
Yeah.
And guys like Slim Dusty and John Williamson who just traveled the land and collected those songs, like seeked those people that they could, get that stuff from the landscapes and paint them through songs. There's a lot of power in that, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, there really is. And it's a shame that at some point, like, it seems insanely kind of cruel that it can be looked upon as being like out of fashion or like uncool,
Yeah.
Because it ain't.
Yeah, no.
It's
definitely.
there's power in that for sure.
Yeah.
And I think Australian artists, I mean myself included, there's some work to be done to kind of reclaim that.
I think so too.
Put power behind that.
Yeah, I think so too. That's the space I've been in lately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've had women come up and say, "We need to hear more wattle trees. We need to singing about
Really?
a lot of North American references in your music on our last tour we did in Australia from our first record. And we found it interesting. She's like, I just loved it, but I just want to hear a little bit more about Australia."
Really interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because part of our story the previous year had been being over here in the
Yeah.
States, so it made its way into our songs. But yeah, she was she said, where's the Australian stories? I was like,
Interesting.
interesting. It's not, you can get used to thinking that Australians aren't craving Australian stories
Yes.
because of all the external influence from other countries, but I think that is true. She was really wanted to hear her story reflected back to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's not probably too many Australian artists doing that,
No.
and or telling those stories or painting those landscapes, or yeah. I think there's definitely something in that. I had someone tell me I sounded like Keith Urban a year or two ago. I was like, that's a bit of a stretch. He was like, nah, you sound like Keith Urban. I was like, alright.
Keith Urban.
No offense, Keith.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Keith's awesome, but like, you don't sound like Keith Urban.
Yeah. I was like, I don't know about that dude. He was drunk. It's like, nah, you do sound like Keith.
I got told last night I looked like Dirks Bentley.
Damn. He's handsome. So
Well,
that's all right.
I've heard the name, but I was like, kind of like laughed, and I like look up on my phone. I was like, damn, I guess it's kind of true. I don't know.
Yeah, I can see that a little bit.
Yeah.
The Americana.
Dirks.
That's funny.
The Australiana.
Guys,
Dirks.
just call me Dirks from now on. I don't have my identity anymore.
Change his name.
I can still be called DP.
Well,
yeah.
I guess on that note, thank you guys for coming on. It's been a great chat.
Thanks,
and
man.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, first podcast ever. So
Yay.
so cool and really cool.
Hope we didn't set the bar too low.
No, I think it's great. And so when's your album coming out again? What date?
July 25th.
July 25th?
Yeah,
What's it
Way
called
to the
again?
Sun.
Way to the Sun?
Yep.
Okay.
And vinyl, CDs, there's shirts. We have I don't know when you're going to air this, but we have got a pre-order campaign
Amazing.
going. So go to bandcamp.com/minegold, I believe it is.
Or Minor
Just
Gold.
check that.
Yeah.
Minor Gold, Instagrams, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And there's a pre-order, and you can get your vinyl early, 2 weeks before July 25th, along with the CD. And yeah.
Some cool shirts and
It's
stuff.
amazing. Go support these guys. They're out there freaking doing the thing. All right. Cheers,
Thanks,
guys.
Thanks, Josh.
Josh.